Good afternoon. I am going live with my continued um, Holy Week devotions, I guess is what you call it. Um, and so I'm going to be talking about the Tuesday of Holy Week today. And um, the next couple days there's a lot of similarities. And so I'm kind of breaking it up. The next 2 days, the Tuesday and Wednesday, Jesus went into Jerusalem and he preached on the Mount of Olives. Um, we don't necessarily know exactly what he spoke about on each day. We have what he said in all, but we don't necessarily know what was on Tuesday and what was on Wednesday. So I'm just going to kind of, talk a little bit about something that he said during one of those 2 days. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about today was as he's heading into Jerusalem this time, he stops and he cries as he's looking at the city of Jerusalem. And this is found in Luke chapter 19. And it says, as he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. And I think that it's extremely important to think about this as I talk about what he talked about on the Mount of Olives, because they relate to each other. And I think it's so important for us to see Jesus' heart here and to see that his heart was broken for his people. And he was broken with compassion for them. And he still knows what's going to happen at the end of the week. But his heart is breaking for them right now, and he's trying to give them some comfort in a lot of the things that he says. As soon as he gets to Jerusalem, he goes to the temple. This is actually the last time that he will be at the temple. He goes in and he starts talking and debating with the authorities in the temple. And they continue to push back and they don't listen to what he has to say. And Jesus finally gets to the point, he says, all right, that's it. And he walks away. He walks away from the temple. He walks away from the leaders, the people who say that they believe in God. But they're so hard-hearted that they can't actually hear the truth. And he goes out to the Mount of Olives and he begins teaching. And he begins teaching the people. And he talks about, in this whole section, he's talking about the things that are going to happen in the end. There's been so much talk lately about, Armageddon. And yes, it's real. And some of the things we are seeing are definitely signs that the end is near. But I think instead of being scared about all of the things that we see and all of the signs of the times, we just need to make sure that we're ready. We need to be ready for that time. And that's what Jesus is talking about as he talks in these messages he gives on the Mount of Olives. He gives several parables. And the first one, this is what he says. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in their jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish one said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourself." But while they were there on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Sir, sir," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "I tell you the truth. I did not know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." And throughout this whole section, Jesus is trying to say that there's more beyond this week, too, in his mind. And I see this happening in our world. We have so many people who are spreading fear and spreading all these concerns about how the end is going to come. And while it's a good thing to be prepared, in terms of kind of having an understanding of what's going to happen, it's more important to prepare ourselves. I don't know the truth about the coronavirus. I don't know what's true and what's not true anymore. There's so many different sides being talked about on this subject. I choose to follow the guidelines that our government is setting, because in scripture it says that we are to obey the authorities that God has placed in front of us, that we are to respect their authority, whether we agree with all of their decisions or not. They are not telling me that I can't believe in God. They are not telling me that I cannot worship God, which I would do that, even if they told me not to. But what they're telling me has nothing to do with things that I shouldn't be following. So I do it. But here's the thing about this scripture. He's talking about our hearts. He's using a parable. It's something that we understand. He's talking about, waiting for the bridegroom, getting ready for this big party, but not being prepared and getting left out. And what he's really trying to say to us is you need to make sure that your heart is ready. Regardless of the hour, regardless of the day, regardless of the year. We need to make sure that our hearts are right with God. It is not enough just to know God and believe God. Jesus is very clear in scripture about this. He says, even the demons recognize his name and flee. It isn't enough to know who he is and to believe he is who he is. There is a relationship required. Because Jesus does something so out of the box in our minds. He gives this gift that we can never pay for. And it's something we're celebrating this week. But please, my friends, make sure your heart is right with God. Make sure that you are prepared. If you have questions, if you want to know, if you want some more answers, please message me. I would love to talk with you about a relationship with Jesus. Because, my friends, this world will end one day. Your life will end one day. Are you ready?